great question by Christina, topic, which inevitably, this might be a little redundant of another video I just did because they're very similar. I did a video about surviving social and economic crisis. So this is pretty much a very similar theme. The question is, staying aware of global issues without slipping into fear or resistance. Or the other way she put it is engaging in life without fear or resistance. So this is a fantastic question. It's going to be a bit redundant in some areas. It's going to be a bit shorter. If you're watching this video, I highly recommend you watch that video, the video that will most likely be entitled Surviving Social and Economic Crisis. So look for that video because it'll be more expansive, a bit about this, but a little more expansive. So I'll keep this bit a bit brief, but basically we all have that challenge because we're being conditioned, and with the society we're always going to have to deal with that. And most of us, what happens is first we awaken to the world, much like in the Matrix, we awaken to the world in which we live and realize it's not what it seems, and it's full of lies and contradictions. And then eventually we awaken to the truth of ourselves, and that's where a lot of us start to branch into spirituality. Some will keep a foot in both, some will swing over more to the other or completely over to the other. That's up to you. So, but we all live here, so we're all going to come across this. So most of us that really are on a path of self-love and making choices to be happy that serve us, right from there, if that's what if you're on the path of self-love and self-fulfillment and being happy, then you're going to ask yourself, that's exactly the line you're going to have to find for yourself, and only you can find that. And we all ask it. And at some point I ask myself, now for many years now I've found the balance, but at some point I was kind of caught between the two. So really, essentially, it kind of answers itself. Let me read it one more time. Staying aware. So staying aware of what's going on, but without slipping into fear and resistance. Well, just by continuing on your path, everything is a reflection of what we do inside first. So that should always be your focus. If you're focusing on the outer world more than you're focusing on the inner, well, there you go. You're going to suffer more and you're going to struggle more. Always go inward first. Everything's a reflection of that. The deeper you go, the more you love yourself, the more you're dedicated to enjoying your life and fulfilling yourself and being happy, the more you'll make choices that reflect that and less that don't reflect that. And the more you will, at your own pace that feels good to you, you will remove all of these things that don't serve you, including the conditionings, which is staying aware. Because you have to realize that, first of all, when we stay aware, it depends what you're talking about, because mainstream media is 90% lies. It's owned by 3 major corporations that are really running the world. So, and that are creating all of these what we call these problems in the world, the things that are really challenging us and that really are causing so much suffering in the environment, the natural environment, and ourselves. War, and the devastation of the planet and ourselves and everything else. It's all coming from us. We're all creating it. And it's being perpetuated by the system which definitely has an agenda, and you have to realize that. So when you're watching mainstream media, you're being conditioned. They told you that from the start. What's it called? Television programming. Programming. They do this all right in our face, and yet, So this truther stuff and these what used to be called the conspiracy theorists, they're pointing to a lot of truths. A lot of them, swing to an extreme, and a lot of us start to realize, and this is probably why you're trying to find a balance, is where what most of us find is that even if you're finding the correct information online, There's so much information. There's so much going on in the world. When you fill your head, when you fill your heart with all that, of all the challenges that we have that are endless and all the atrocities that are happening, that's not really going to serve you when you just constantly worry, and especially when you let anger, when you move more from anger towards those things. You're not going to live a happy life, and you're not going to be as productive, honestly, in making change. Change comes from best when you change yourself. And so even those of us that are in spirituality, we do things to try to make change. Even though we more go into acceptance of what is, and we don't believe in fighting or resisting what is or resisting the system anymore, we still want to change it. We do things that change it. Like I plant trees with my books. Just one of many, many things I do with my children's books. That's a way of being the change. Instead of fighting and, I could go that route. Instead, I just do things that, and especially within myself, that will be the change. So that's the best way to change these things to begin with. Not really fighting them. And that's truthers that are totally on the extreme of 100% truther might argue with that. I think most that are somewhere in the middle or more towards spirituality would agree with me that change comes from being the change, and the best way to be change is to totally love yourself, because that's where this is all coming from to begin with. It's a lack of self-love. It's a resistance and a fear of the unknown, and a resistance of where we are and what we are. That we're these magical, powerful beings, infinite beings, that are really all connected to everything, that we're coming from the one source, and that we're an expression of consciousness, and that this is all an expression, and that when we tap into that, when we really realize that from a place of stillness and self-love, that I'm losing my train of thought. Let me go back. So when we really tap into that, realize that, we start to really realize that that's really how we make the most profound changes in the world. Is first by being the change, and then we send ripples out, and we inspire, and vibrationally we make change, and vibrationally we actually reprogram the collective, because we are all connected collectively. This is all one big hologram, and we're all connected. We're all part of the one. So in so many ways, when you are the change, when you actually become the change, you make the change. So that's the way to do it. And by doing so, you're living a happy life. So that's the most important thing. You get one shot here. Sure, make change, but make sure you're enjoying yourself. This is a fantastic gift and a fantastic ride here in this house of mirrors, this fun house of reflected mirrors and craziness that we manifest and create. Enjoy yourself. Love yourself. So, of course, that's what I say with everything, and I'm saying it now. Self-love. Self-love. When you go back to that, and you keep going into stillness, whatever in your life clears the thoughts out, and do whatever in life fulfills you, and just make that choice to love yourself always and happy. Make that your primary mission. Then from there, you'll find your balance in what you... Because I resonate with that, because I do keep tabs, but I don't look for it because you don't have to. I'm on Facebook, I'm on the internet, so it all comes to me anyways. So I do hear bits and pieces. I generally stay aware. I don't watch the news, but I get news feeds. So I see. I just generally look at the captions, and occasionally I'll click on something and read a little more. Occasionally somebody will share something of real that intrigues me, and I'll look a little deeper. But I don't spend a lot of time researching. I just keep general tabs just so I know generally what's going on. And you don't really have to try at that, because as I said, excuse me, starting to lose my throat, my voice, my throat's getting really dry. Making a lot of videos today. So if you just want to keep tabs, then you won't have to try it, because you'll see it in news feeds, you'll see it in your Facebook shares, you'll see it in YouTube posts, you'll see it. So you don't need to watch the news, which again, that's mainstream media anyway. So if you're going to keep tabs, that's not the way to do it. Unless just to see the headlines, to see what they're up to. So that's what I see. When I see slogans on the mainstream internet news feeds, or mainstream newspapers, or or news or whatnot. I don't really watch that stuff, but when it's in your face anyways, when you walk past the newsstand and you see the captions, you'll keep tabs anyways. You will keep tabs of what the system is telling us, which is mostly lies, with a little bit of truth in it, with a big agenda. So if you want to keep tabs, sure, see what the headlines are and just see the headlines there. Now you know what story, but keep in mind it's a story they're telling, and it's most likely a lie, and has agendas behind it. So keep that in mind. But if you are going to go even to the stuff online, keep in mind that the information's massive and you could drive yourself crazy. And if you enjoy it a little bit, by all means, but make sure you're enjoying it. And if you're not enjoying it anymore, then pull back. So keep tabs in whatever way makes you feel good and not feel afraid. If you're feeling afraid, you're not just keeping tabs anymore. You're getting pulled in. So there's my big tip for you. Just do what you do, and if you feel fear, whatever way you're keeping tabs on what's going on starts to make you feel fearful, right there's your clue. So it almost never happens to me anymore, but occasionally it will, and if I click on something or read something and then I feel fear come in, immediately I go, bam, there we go. First of all, that tells you most likely, not always, but most likely, especially if it's mainstream media, well, I just felt fear because that was their design and their presentation, because that's what they're big on, fear. It's why news is just 90% negative. Miracles happen every moment. Amazing magic, wonderful things happen every moment on this planet. We see almost none of it in the media. Why is that? There's their agenda. Why only the negative? Because they want you to be afraid. They want you to be tuned in. They want you to be programmed. But anyways, so there's your tip off. Watch yourself. Fear. If you're feeling fear in how you're keeping tabs, then you might want to make adjustments. The way I made adjustments is I don't keep tabs at all because it comes naturally anyways. Naturally, these things, what you need to know, will come across your path. So when I see the slogans, I see the headlines, or somebody tells me something, I go, oh, okay, good, so that's what they're talking about now, and boom, and then I forget about it. I don't think about it. I don't worry about it. That's how I keep tabs. I don't focus on it at all. But I'm aware of it. Hey, you're sitting on my list, pal. Get off my list. Anywho, that was my cat climbing on my list. So I hope that answered the question. Thank you so much.